Hi everyone, thank you for joining me on this video as I go over my entry for the Squidmar Open 2025. For those of you that didn't know, I did submit a piece for the Squidmar Open 2024 last year. Last year I had committed to myself to improve my painting and submit into some painting competitions. I did a few small local competitions, but when I saw the Squidmar Open, I decided, you know what, this would be my first real opportunity to submit my work to a larger competition. I was excited to submit some of my work, and although I was trying not to get my hopes up, I did hope for something. I was so excited to submit some of my work as this was my first real competition. I submitted these 3 models, as you can see on screen right now. I worked hard on them, and honestly, I was pretty proud. But guess what? I didn't place, and I didn't even get a commendation. What the hell, Emil? But you know what the experience did do? It pushed me. When I saw the results, yes, I was down for a little bit, but I was very determined to do better next year. And I took the opportunity in 2025 to push myself out of my comfort zone, painting a variety of different models that I wasn't that experienced with, taking on painting challenges with my wife to learn how to do better faces and different skin tones, and even taking on commission work for Mini Wargaming, which really pushed me out of my comfort zone in terms of some of the detailed work and trim and things like that on a Space Marine style miniature from Ravaged Star. These were great learning opportunities, and I could definitely feel myself getting better and better across the year as I went into these different self-improvement challenges around my painting techniques. Then came the announcement, Squidmar Open 2025 was back. So I knew I wanted to submit a piece. I had exactly the piece that I knew I wanted to tackle, and I had been holding off because I knew it was going to be a challenge just from my previous work for 2024. I'd been holding on to another miniature from Akelarre Models, which I had gotten from a Kickstarter a few years ago. This was Ilun. She's a witch on a broomstick, and I really liked the model. But I knew there was a lot of skin again, a lot of flesh that I'd have to paint, and a flowing dress that I wanted to be very, very vibrant, sort of I had this vision of a pale-skinned witch flying through the moonlight. So this was it. This was my opportunity. I had 2 months, and I was going to do it. This time, though, I did do things a little differently, and I guess you could say I took things a little more seriously. I took pictures of the model from different angles, tried to understand where the light might be coming from, and ensure that as I was going to start painting this, that I understood where I wanted more of the light and the focus to be, and where to build up some of that shadow and push that contrast even more. So I planned my viewing angles and worked on my color palette. So I tried to limit my colors as much as possible. And I was also noting them down this time. So as I worked on the skin, I knew exactly which colors I was using and in what order to build the shadows and the highlights. Taking notes on the various colors that I used on the different parts of the model also helped me come back to them and do touch-ups and highlights very easily throughout the painting process. Even though I was painting it across a larger period of time than I normally do, I definitely felt the value of noting everything that I was doing for the different portions of the model. This model presented a lot of challenges. One of the biggest ones was building up texture as I was going through thin layers. And surprisingly, I did a lot of searching on YouTube trying to find some of the more popular YouTube channels and what to do when you start building up texture. And to my surprise, I couldn't find anything. I couldn't find any concrete advice on how to deal with texture or roughness that had occurred from applying multiple layers and disturbing the layers before they had dried. So I had a little bit of texture build up on her cheek, which is right on her face, which was worrying me because I didn't know how to get rid of that. And I also built up a little bit on one of her legs. This stressed me out a lot about midway through the painting process, but I thought, you know what, I'm just going to keep going and not concentrate on that and see where I can improve throughout the other portions of the model and then come back to it eventually. And although I kept bouncing around ideas on what I could possibly do, I obviously didn't want to start from scratch. Eventually, I used some AK interactive sanding pads, some fine sanding pads. I cut small little strips and then just decided to rub it against the textured portions of the skin. And this worked perfectly well. In hindsight, after doing it, just reflecting on the process, it seems silly that I hadn't thought of that previously. I've done a lot of renovations in my lifetime, and one of the big things that you do when painting walls is you sand the paint down. You sand it down smooth and then continue to paint. And realistically, that's all I was doing on this miniature, was just sanding down a very thin layer of the paint. And using such a fine, such a fine grit sanding pad allowed me to do it just very lightly and only remove the top layer of that was building up that texture, and then I was able to proceed painting as if nothing was wrong. So definitely, if you're running into that issue, by all means, give it a try. It worked for me, hopefully it works for you. I did wet the portion that I was going to sand a little bit beforehand, not soaking it, just a little bit moist. So as I was sanding, it was clearing and picking up anything that was left behind. As I painted this miniature, I really enjoyed it. I was able to play around with some of the makeup and the highlighting on the face. And another key aspect that I used was fluorescent paints. So I used fluorescent paints across the dress to really punch up some of those highlights using some fluorescent magenta and some fluorescent orange. And then using strong dark blue mixed with my base red to really pull down the shadows and make them deeper and darker without going straight to black. So in the end, I was super happy with how this turned out. I felt like I really pushed myself to the limits. I finished with about a week to spare and submitted my models. I tackled several new problems in this that I hadn't experienced previously, and I learned so much along the way. Now that it's completed, I truly do feel like this is the best model I've painted to date, and I think there's still more I can learn and more that I can push myself to. But I am incredibly proud of what I was able to produce and what I was able to accomplish this year. So I've made my submission, my fingers are crossed, and here's hoping I manage to place this year in the Squidmar Open 2025. So in honor of Squidmar, or Emil and Lucas, here's my grand reveal. Thanks so much for joining me on this painting journey. I hope to continue to produce more videos, both for this channel and some of the challenges that me and my wife are getting into with the new business we purchased. So stay tuned and join us in 2026. Bye.